Think about the last time your GPS lost its signal right in the middle of nowhere.
Oh man, that instant panic.
Right, for about 10 seconds, you just keep driving, assuming it'll, reconnect.
You're just staring at the dash praying for a bar of service.
Exactly. The map is completely frozen, but you maintain your speed, and then the screen just goes blank.
Yeah, that's the worst.
That instant drop in your stomach, that sudden, really chilling realization that nobody's coming to tell you what to do next.
It's terrifying.
It is. And that's not just a lost satellite signal. Philosophers actually have a name for the exact feeling.
They call it the absurd.
The absurd. And today we are doing a deep dive into a newly discovered piece of theater that, well, it puts a loaded gun to the head of that exact sensation.
It really does. Because, it is the ultimate human friction.
Yeah.
Our brains are biologically wired to seek patterns, right? We demand meaning. We expect cause and effect.
They want A to lead to B.
Exactly. But we live in a universe that is fundamentally patternless. It's utterly silent.
Right, it doesn't care.
It doesn't. So the absurd isn't just, saying life is crazy. It's the sparks that fly when our desperate, meaning-seeking machinery just grinds against the cold, hard metal of an indifferent reality.
Okay, let's unpack this, because our source material today captures that friction perfectly. We are looking at a play script titled The Desert Between Faith and Absurdity.
Such a great title.
Right, and it was published exactly today, March 14th, 2026. We found it on a philosophy blog run by a writer named Fried Noven.
And we should talk about the staging, because the physical setup of this play is brilliant.
Oh, it really is. It's written for a split stage.
Yeah.
So on the left side, you have this quiet, fluorescent-lit, dusty Nevada hospital.
Very sterile.
Yeah. And then on the right, you have the neon-drenched, incredibly dangerous back streets of the mafia underworld.
Such a stark contrast.
It is. The setting itself basically acts as the referee. The narrator literally opens by saying, in the desert, the sun rises on those who know too much and those who trust too little.
Which is such a powerful line.
Yeah.
Because the desert is the unifying theme here.
It's this vast, silent landscape stretching across both halves of the stage. And the thing is, the desert does not care about the hospital.
No.
And it certainly doesn't care about the mafia. It just exists. And that absolute silence forces the characters to, make their ultimate choices.
Because the universe is just refusing to make those choices for them.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the core conflict. We've got two protagonists here who are essentially drowning in that silence. But their survival strategies couldn't be more different.
Polar opposites, really.
Totally. So over in the hospital, we have Daniel Mercer. He is a doctor who fled the chaos of New York to return to his dusty hometown.
Because his father, Samuel, is dying.
Right. Now, Daniel is a man built entirely on logic. He's a diagnostician.
He fixes things.
Right. He believes that if A happens, you do B and you get C. But his dad has this incurable condition.
Which breaks all of Daniel's rules.
Completely. Daniel's entire operating system has basically encountered a fatal error. He is facing the ultimate wall here. Daniel has all the medical knowledge in the world, and it is completely, almost mockingly useless.
Yeah, his father even tells him, logic will not heal this, Daniel.
Right. He is being forced to look the absurd dead in the eye. He knows exactly how the cells in his father's body are breaking down, but he can't extract any meaning from it.
And he can't stop it.
Exactly.
Now wait, I struggle with Daniel's reaction here. Because Daniel says, I can endure the absurd, but I cannot endure the helplessness.
Mm-hmm.
And then he basically just pulls up a chair and sits by the bed. It's easy to slap a fancy philosophical label on this and call it, enduring the absurd. But isn't he just giving up?
It looks like that from the outside.
Right. How is this quiet endurance any different from just simple clinical depression or total paralysis?
What's fascinating here is the distinction the play draws between passive resignation and active defiance.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, if we look at Albert Camus's framework of the absurd, giving up is a form of philosophical suicide.
Like you just tap out.
Right. You tap out. But Daniel doesn't tap out. He stays in the room.
He doesn't look away.
He doesn't. He remains fully conscious of the pain and, honestly, the pointlessness of it all. He is actively choosing to carry the boulder up the hill, knowing full well it's going to roll right back down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It takes an immense amount of cognitive energy to sit in the dark and just, not invent a comforting lie.
That makes total sense. It's almost like, okay, doom scrolling.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately.
It's like doom scrolling, but instead of distracting yourself with the feed, you're just staring at the terrifying data and refusing to close the tab.
That is a very modern way to put it, but yes.
You aren't fixing the world, but you aren't hiding from it either.
Precisely. He is holding the tension. But as we know, the human mind absolutely despises that tension.
It really does. Which
Maybe
brings us to the right side of the stage.
To Luca.
Right. If Daniel is paralyzed by his awareness, Luca Romano is violently rejecting it.
Violently is the key word there.
Yeah. Luca is a hitman in the criminal underworld, and he's preparing to assassinate a rival boss named Vittorio. And where Daniel accepts his powerlessness, Luca just flat out refuses it.
He tells his partner Carlo what is the line.
He says, hesitation kills more than bullets.
Yes.
If the universe won't give him an answer, he's going to extort one.
Yeah.
To me, it's like Daniel is a supercomputer that is frozen because it's been fed an unsolvable equation.
Death being the equation.
Exactly. Whereas Luca is like a person who just rips the cord out of the wall to force a reboot.
That is a great analogy, because Luca literally cannot handle the silence. He embodies a very specific, ruthless interpretation of the Kierkegaardian leap of faith.
Well, we should clarify, it's not a religious faith.
No, not at all. We need to strip away all the religious connotations of the word faith here.
Yeah.
Luca's faith isn't about angels or an afterlife. It is a raw existential leap.
Right.
He acts strictly because there is no guarantee of success.
Think of it like being lost in a massive, completely uncharted cave with a dying flashlight.
Okay, I'm with you.
Daniel's philosophy is turning the flashlight off to save the battery, sitting in the pitch black, and just accepting that he might die there.
Choosing brutal awareness over false hope.
Exactly. But Luca's philosophy is turning the flashlight on its maximum beam and just sprinting blindly down the very first tunnel he sees.
Right.
He might run straight off a cliff, but the act of running makes him feel like he's surviving.
That is an excellent way to visualize the mechanics of their choices. And the playwright brilliantly highlights the reckless nature of Luca's leap by introducing his father as a foil.
Oh, Father Romano.
Yes. Luca's father is a Catholic priest. We literally see him kneeling in a church, praying for his son.
Talk about a contrast.
It's huge. Father Romano represents traditional faith, trusting that a safety net exists, trusting that a higher power will step in and intervene.
Right.
But Luca's existential faith is the exact opposite. Luca leaps precisely because he knows the safety net does not exist.
He trusts the leap itself, not the landing.
Exactly.
You know, I see people do this in the real world all the time, usually with less gunfire.
Hopefully.
Right. But someone feels totally stagnant in their career or maybe their marriage. They are suffocating in that silence of, is this all there is?
The everyday absurd.
Yeah. And so they just blow up their life. They quit the job with no backup plan. They move across the country on a random Tuesday.
Just to do something.
Right. They don't know if it'll work, but the explosion itself feels like a solution to the paralysis.
It's the illusion of control reclaimed through sheer momentum. But philosophy is easy in a vacuum.
That is very true.
The play doesn't let these men just sit in their theories. It stress tests them against the real world.
Because neither enduring the silence nor sprinting through the dark happens without a heavy tax.
No, there's always a cost.
Let's talk about that tax. Because when these coping mechanisms hit reality, they inflict actual damage. We see Daniel at a local cafe with his high school sweetheart, Anna Morales.
It's such a sad scene.
It is. There's this huge mountain of unspoken what-ifs between them. Daniel tries to explain his worldview to her. He says, silence is the truest voice of life. It forces you to listen.
And she is not having it.
Not at all. Anna calls him out. She basically tells him that his endurance is just a luxury. A mutual friend even accuses him of observing life instead of actually living it.
Because Daniel's philosophy isolates him. By refusing to act until he has a logical certainty, which, as we know, doesn't exist, he makes himself a ghost in his own life.
He's just haunting his own existence.
Exactly. Anna represents the messy, illogical reality of human connection. It's something Daniel's hyper-rational endurance just can't process.
Right.
His refusal to leap protects him from failure, sure, but it completely cuts him off from joy.
But compared to Luca's tax, Daniel's isolation seems, pretty mild.
Well, yeah.
Here's where it gets really interesting, but honestly where I start to lose patience with Luca.
I know exactly what scene you're going to bring up.
The bank scene. While Daniel is having this quiet, sad coffee date, Luca breaks into a bank after hours to confront a manager named Edward.
He needs the funds.
Right. He needs untraceable cash to execute his hit. Edward is terrified. He's pointing out that what Luca's doing is just a textbook felony.
It's armed robbery.
Yeah. And Luca looks at this terrified man and says he isn't asking Edward to believe in the outcome. He says, I'm asking you to trust in the lead.
It is extortion perfectly framed as existential necessity.
But isn't it just a massive cop-out? I mean, come on. He's shaking down a bank manager at gunpoint. It feels incredibly self-serving.
It does.
Is Luca really a philosophical rebel taking a leap of faith, or is he just a violent thug slapping Camus and Kierkegaard onto his crimes to sleep better at night?
That is the million-dollar question. If we connect this to the bigger picture of existential philosophy, we have to remember that faith and the absurd are not inherently moral frameworks.
Right, they're not about good and evil.
No, they are mechanical frameworks. The play is deliberately pushing you into this discomfort. The playwright wants you to be repulsed by Luca's justification.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, Luca explicitly states in a later monologue that God may not intervene and the universe will not validate his choice, but to hesitate in his mind is death already.
So he just bulldozes forward.
He prioritizes his existential momentum over Edward's safety and, honestly, over objective morality entirely.
So the text is saying that a leap of faith, by its very nature, might require you to be a monster.
The text is asking if the necessity of action outweighs the morality of the action when you are faced with the void.
Wow.
The universe is completely silent for both men. Daniel suffers the silence. Luca shatters it. The play is stress testing whether shattering that silence is worth the collateral damage it inherently causes.
And that collateral damage brings us to the convergence.
Yeah.
The brilliant split-stage design finally pays off.
I love how this is staged.
It's amazing. The lighting changes, the desert sun bleeds across the entire stage, and the hospital town merges with the mafia streets.
The two worlds collide.
Yes. The man who turns off the flashlight and the man who sprints in the dark finally crash into each other.
They inhabit the same and different world. The storylines had to intersect eventually.
So we're back in the bank lobby. Luca is still terrorizing Edward for the money. And walking through the door, looking for Edward, is Daniel.
Of all people.
Right. Suddenly, Daniel and Luca are face to face. Luca proudly declares that he has chosen the leap, that action is the only defense against the void.
He's very proud of his momentum.
Very. And Daniel, the man who has spent his life trying to preserve life through logic, asks him a question that I think is the thesis of the entire play.
Oh, definitely.
Daniel asks, and if in choosing you destroy others, is that faith or madness?
It's the ultimate indictment of Luca's philosophy. Luca has conflated his own survival instinct with philosophical courage.
Exactly. If you want to take a leap of faith, fine, jump. But if your leap involves dragging innocent bystanders over the cliff with you,
That it's not courage.
no. If your coping mechanism requires holding a gun to someone else's head, that is madness masquerading as enlightenment. You aren't defying the absurd, you are just spreading it to someone else.
And Luca's response shows how deeply entrenched he is in that madness. He doesn't flinch.
He really doesn't.
He just replies, faith. The leap demands it. He has fully accepted destruction as the necessary byproduct of his momentum. He cannot turn back.
He's locked in.
He told his partner earlier that there was never a way back. He is locked into the trajectory of his leap.
Which leads directly into the tragic resolution of the play. The consequences of these two opposing philosophies finally arrive.
It's a brutal ending.
It is. Luca gets his money, leaves the bank, and goes through with his ambush on Vittorio. But the sprint in the dark fails.
He trips over his own momentum.
Yeah. The hit goes wrong, he gets caught in a chaotic shootout, and he is fatally shot. The lights isolate him on the right side of the stage, and we see him bleeding out in the arms of his father.
Father Romano.
Right.
It is a devastating, highly symbolic tableau. The son who leaped into the void, caught by the father who prayed to a safety net,
Wow.
and neither the violent leap nor the quiet prayer could alter the physics of a bullet. The universe remained indifferent.
Yeah, as the narrator notes, even faith cannot shield the body from consequence.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, the violence fades and the lights come up on the left side of the stage. Daniel is sitting in the quiet hospital room with his father, Samuel.
The quiet ending.
Right. The monitor slowing down. Daniel is still totally consumed by his failure to solve the equation, his failure to cure his dad.
He still thinks he lost.
He does. But Samuel, in his very last breath, releases Daniel from that burden. He tells him, "No, you have learned. That is enough." And Samuel passes away.
Daniel wanted to cure the human condition, He wanted to fix the absurd.
Which is impossible.
Completely. His father's final gift is the validation that simply being present in the face of the unfixable is a victory in itself.
So we are left with these two incredibly different deaths. A violent, chaotic death in the street, and a quiet, inevitable death in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, does the playwright pick a winner here? Who actually survived the desert?
This raises an important question, and I think the intellectual rigor of this play lies in its refusal to pick a winner.
Really? Nobody wins.
Nobody wins. Both paths end in failure. Luca's aggressive leap of faith ends in his own destruction. Daniel's endurance of the absurd ends with him losing his father anyway.
So the universe didn't reward either of them.
Not at all. But, as the narrator says in one of the final lines of the script, enduring is an act of defiance itself.
So what does this all mean? We spent this time breaking down a hitman and a doctor, but let's bring this back to the person listening to us right now.
Do your own life.
Right. Because you are going to face the absurd. It's guaranteed.
Yeah.
You will hit a moment in your career where you do everything right and you still fail.
Or you'll face a health crisis where the doctors just shrug.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You will stare at global events and realize you have absolutely no control. So when your map goes blank, what is your default programming?
Will you sit in the dark and hold the tension, refusing to lie to yourself even if it paralyzes you? Or will you force a reboot?
Will you sprint blindly down a new path just to feel the wind in your hair, regardless of who you might knock over in the process?
It requires deep self-awareness to know which trap you are prone to falling into.
It really does.
It does. But I want to leave you with one final thought, something that moves beyond the text of the play and into the actual reality of how we found it. We've analyzed the story, but consider the medium.
You're talking about Farid Novan's blog.
Exactly. Look at the immense, heavy juxtaposition here. We have this sprawling, intricate piece of theatrical art that wrestles with the vast, silent, indifferent universe.
Yeah.
And where does it exist? It was uploaded to a standard, old-school blog.
A plain white web page.
Just a plain white webpage with a classic orange Bog Lager logo in the corner. Farid Novan wrote this profound meditation on existence, and he cast it out into the internet today.
Right.
And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the script, past the final stage directions, there is a tiny automated line of text. It says, 0 comments.
Oh, man. 0 comments. That hits hard.
In today's hyper-connected, algorithm-driven digital age, isn't that our own modern leap of faith?
Oh, wow.
Every time you post a piece of art, every time you share a deeply vulnerable thought or launch a blog hoping that someone, anyone out there is listening, you are leaping.
You're jumping into the void.
You hit publish, and you throw your voice into a digital desert that is infinitely vast, mostly silent, and completely indifferent to whether you succeed or fail.
That is the ultimate Kierkegaardian leap. You have no idea if the algorithm will just bury it in a microsecond. You have no idea if a single human being will ever lay eyes on it. But you hit publish anyway.
You act without the universe confirming your choice. You speak into the silence. You don't know if the ground will rise to meet you.
Yeah.
But the fact that Farid Novan hit publish and the fact that we found it and that we just spent this time unpacking it together suggests that sometimes the leap actually connects.
Sometimes the flashlight catches something in the dark. It really reframes how you look at every attempt to communicate. Every piece of art, every post, every text message to a friend you haven't spoken to in years, it is a tiny, stubborn act of defiance against the absurd.
It absolutely is.
So the next time you find yourself looking at your own map and you realize the lines have completely run out, pay attention to the silence and decide, are you going to undo it or are you going to leap?